Ukrainian special forces have detected and targeted Russian armored vehicles, military trucks, and refueling vehicles, as well as areas where personnel were concentrated, in the occupied territories of Zaporizhzhia region. The equipment and personnel detected by drones were hit by various types of artillery. As a result, the Akasiya self-propelled artillery mount worth $3 million, the Pion self-propelled artillery mount worth $5 million, the Uragan multiple launch rocket system worth about $12 million, the Zittel electronic warfare system, several military trucks, refueling vehicles, and a large number of occupying soldiers were destroyed.
Retired FSB officer and war criminal Igor Girkin, who previously fought against Ukraine, predicts that Russia will experience the collapse of the front and rear, which will create a perfect storm. Supporters have published his new letter, in which he essentially predicted the imminent collapse of Russia. The situation is rapidly approaching the very perfect storm that cannot fail to happen. The reason is the total imitation of activity that most officials are engaged in, writes Girkin. According to him, instead of an adequate response to the failures of the front and attacks on the rear, the Putin regime is organizing lavish celebrations and meaningless forums just to create the illusion of control and the success of what is happening. The former militant admits the failure of the offensive on Sumy and calls both defeat at the front and the involvement of new countries in the war on the side of Ukraine a real threat. We are having a hard time dealing with our current enemy, he states. Girkin argues that the regime has almost no choice left, either mobilization or inevitable defeat. There will be no return to the past, not even partially. The longer they drag it out, the less will remain of the past, wrote the Z-Patriot. Recall, 40 months is a long time in a war, even more so for an economy already burdened by dangerous dependencies on a fossil fuel-based world that, with luck, will be consigned to the history books within a few decades. Nearly 3.5 years after Vladimir Putin gave the order to invade Ukraine, thus burning all bridges with the West, Russia is now trapped in a maze with no easy way out. Sluggish growth and soaring prices, with annual increases in double digits. The St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, once a showcase and symbol of Russia's strength in the global market, turned a couple of weeks ago into a parade of Putinism, though not a particularly cheerful one. We are on the brink of a recession, admitted Economic Development Minister Maxim Reshetnikov. The reserves that had supported the country's finances in recent years, added Central Bank Governor Elvira Nabiullina, are depleted.
The number of casualties among the Russian military during the ongoing summer offensive of Russia in Ukraine exceeded the number of losses at any other stage of the war, writes The Economist. According to the magazine, about 31,000 Russian soldiers have died on the front since May 1. Since the beginning of the war, according to magazine estimates, Russia has lost 900,000 to 1.3 million people by the beginning of July, of which 190,000 to 350,000 have died. To estimate losses, The Economist uses a model developed by journalists, which is based on data from Western governments and independent researchers, as well as satellite data on the movement of troops. Record Russian losses were the result of the summer offensive on the front, the magazine notes. However, Russian territorial acquisitions cannot be called significant. In the last year, Russia sacrificed the life of one soldier for the sake of advancing an average of 0.038 square kilometers. Even if the pace of the Russian offensive accelerates compared to last month, the full capture of the Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson and Zaporizhzhia regions, which Russia annexed in 2022, will happen only by February 2029. And it will take another 89 years to fully capture Ukraine and Russia. There is not enough available information for a comparable assessment of losses from the Ukrainian side, notes The Economist. According to the data of the dead and missing portal UA losses, which the journal refers to, since the beginning of the invasion, 73,000 to 140,000 Ukrainian soldiers have died. Vladimir Putin believes that the Russian superiority on the front is growing, and the Ukrainian defense may collapse in the coming months, wrote the New York Times with reference to sources close to the Kremlin. Taking this into account, the Russian president considers it impossible to stop hostilities without serious concessions from Kiev, the newspaper's interlocutors said. Last Sunday became a record for the rate of Russian troops advancing in Ukraine since the middle of November last year. More than 200 square kilometer military analysts believe that this summer may be Russia's last chance for a major offensive due to the depletion of armored vehicles and the lack of military personnel. As the captured Russian officers said, the summer offensive was presented to them as the last push, wrote The Economist. Colonel Ivan Voronik of the Security Service of Ukraine has been killed in Kyiv, the Ukrainian media reported. Voronik sustained multiple gunshot wounds during an armed attack and died at the scene. The incident occurred in the Holosivsky district of Kyiv. The death of Colonel Voronik has also been confirmed by Roman Chervinsky, a former commander of Ukraine's special forces. Details of the incident are under investigation. No information has been provided about who committed the murder.